And this one is in AEWville. And Tony Khan, in recent interviews, Ospreay and Strickland, they discussed like the roster quality of AEW, saying that you have to be elite to be part of the roster and wanting wrestlers who would help build up the brand of AEW. And Tony Khan appeared on Battleground, and he was asked about the perception of AEW with free agents referencing the company as a potential landing spot after leaving WWE. This was all from Fightful Select, by the way. So this is what Tony Khan said. There's a very good perception about AEW in 2025. The company's doing great shows. This feels like the best year ever in AEW. This whole year has been a huge uptick for AEW on TV. When you factor in the additional fans watching on streaming on the simulcast, it's just going fantastic for us. There's a great perception about AEW. It's a great time to work here. It's also a lot of fun. He says a lot of like great fun. It's a great place to apply your trade as a wrestler, and we're looking for the very best. This is where the best wrestle. AEW has the best wrestlers in the world, and we want to keep it that way. It's a very high bar to reach the roster, and we want to maintain the quality. And separately, there were stories with like Elena Black and Shotzi Blackheart, who were both released by WWE. They both mentioned in recent interviews that AEW is a potential landing spot. So with that in mind, Tony Khan says that it's a very high bar to make the AEW roster. David, do you think AEW's current talent pool supports that statement? And I guess, secondly, do you feel like are there people who shouldn't be there if we're talking about elite only? Like, do you think that their bar is high?
I think that the top of upper mid card to the top is pretty high. Some of their mid card and low cards is like, eh.
Beast Mortos.
Yeah, no, he's cool. He'll get his hazing offline. Online, he's cool. He's cool either way.
Yeah, I mean, his gimmick is sick. I like his match.
Yeah, he's a fucking Pokemon.
Yeah, he's basically a Pokemon or a Greek mythological like beast that is like there's like Minotaur. The specific Greek mythology and like maze.
Minotaur.
Yeah.
Minotaur. Yeah.
What's that? Motaro?
Mortal Kombat.
Motaro, Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
But his ass is reversed because he's got a horse body or beast body, and then human-ish kind of top. He's a centaur.
So Beast Mortal's first words when he finally says something like Kane should be, "I'm only horse from the waist down, baby." But no, I feel like AEW's kind of lost sense of their like, I shouldn't say the bottom of the card, but like opening the show, things like that, like the Danhausens, the people that keep things going that don't necessarily need to win, like the Luigi Primos. Before we turn Orange Cassidy into like some super halfway serious but nonchalant serious guy. I feel like the tag teams need work. And which is weird because it's like when you got like the Hurts and the Kid as your tag champs, they should definitely be putting on like classics instead of like squashing your tag teams that are kind of expendable. No offense to all of them.
Yeah.
And then on the women's side, I feel like it's just like Mercedes Tony, and then if we remember to put on Willow or Stat.
They're kind of like that. Supporting actors in the Tony Mercedes show right now.
I definitely think like the second half of the show, or maybe even like the last 3 quarters, are like pretty solidified, but like there's still like weird gaps where I'd be picky, but the question is how picky.
Yeah. Now, I guess, Chris, for you, so Tony Khan says it's the best year ever for AEW, and for me personally, I feel like because like we keep reading news and about this, I feel like I've heard this for the past year or two. Like
for the past 3. You've heard that since AEW 22.
Yeah, I mean, he's been saying it's the best year ever every year.
Which is good.
Which is
they're a young
good.
company, so they should be getting better every year.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, there is some evolution. I feel like, he said it was the best year ever, even though the feeling wasn't there. Like, there was this weird disconnect where sometimes in interviews it'd be like, it's amazing, it's going great, and then at the same time you're having the story where there's like an acknowledgement of restoring the feeling, meaning that you admit that it isn't that great. And
Right.
there were some promos where they're like, "Oh, the reason it sucks is because of A, B, and C." Was it like
Oh,
Moxley who said
Ospreay.
it?
Yeah,
Osprey, yeah,
Ospreay the
yeah,
mock. He
yeah.
said the
So,
reason why this place sucks is you.
yeah, like shooting yourself in the foot, there with like that kind of promo stuff. And I get like, I guess it's great to have like some kind of ammunition and stuff, but you're kind of admitting to the people who are in the arena and watching, like, yeah, our product kind of sucks right now,
Yeah. We
So
could do better.
yeah, so that's not great. You know, it's not great when you're watching and the people who are doing the work in the ring are saying it sucks.
At the top of your card.
Yeah. So I guess Chris, for you to ask you, he said it's the best year for AEW. Do you agree from what you've seen so far from like January to June, all the shows that we've watched, Double or Nothing, Dynasty, I think Revolution happened. Yeah, do you feel like it's been their best year ever? Let's stick with that premise. Best year ever. Do you agree with that?
I would definitely not say best year ever. I would say that peak would have been 21, 22 maybe, like 2021, 2022. And then it just kind of tapered off a little bit. It wasn't a complete nosedive. Like, it might have nosedived a bit after Punk and all that craziness kind of happened. And then it went up, and then it's just been kind of coasting, I feel. With
Peaks and valleys.
yeah, peaks and valleys. But I mean, that's just like with anything. But I would definitely not agree with the sentiment that it's their best year. But I understand from like a PR standpoint and him owning the company that of course he's gonna say that. But me personally, I would say it's not their best year. Good stuff. I mean, there's been definitely some really good stuff across the board. There's been some really great feuds and matches that I would say that would be somewhere up there, but I would not say as a whole the year itself was great. I mean, the year isn't even, done yet. We're halfway through, I think. So we'll
Yeah,
see.
I mean, maybe when December rolls around, we could have kind of a year in review like we did the year before. But I agree, and I feel like there are certain things that are great. As a business, might be their best year, especially when it comes to the streaming service aspect, where you're on cable, but now you're also on Max, and there seems to be some sort of underflow of interest from like people who maybe not normally watch AEW. And again, there isn't like solid. I don't have the data and the TV numbers, but like conversations in forums and social media and that kind of stuff, there appears to be some increased interest in AEW, because of maybe some folks feeling like WWE at its current standing is feeling stale. I personally don't see that, because I mean, like, I guess it's not okay. Let me say this. I think WWE's peak, like the absolute peak saga, was like with Cody Rhodes and getting like finishing the story. Like that was that year or two buildup. All of that was great, and then like that energy level, I don't know if it necessarily came back to that. So I mean, that means it's been like what, a year and some change. Like there's plenty of good stuff, but I feel like that feeling with like The Rock and Cody and all that kind of stuff, I don't think it's been replicated this year. And again, I feel like nobody, no company, if it's AEW, if it's WWE, no one can maintain that energy consistently. I think that is impossible. People's attention spans shift and change constantly. People like to jump on the bandwagon, and then there's just this momentum that just all comes together, and then the energy is just palpable. The storylines, everything just lines up perfectly, and it worked really well for them going into WrestleMania 40. And this year, the the Saudi Arabia, Night of Champions. It was okay. I mean, it was great that CM Punk and John Cena wrestled again. I liked it for the nostalgia and just having that one last match. I don't think it was that great of a match. I did think it was a little overbooked at the end. There were a lot of interferences and people coming in. So, long story short, I don't think WWE. I think WWE's had better years, and so has AEW. So AEW, from a business perspective, great. You started streaming. I think that is a thing to increase your business to keep going forward. That's awesome. But I don't know if it's your best year ever. So the next question I guess I have for you guys is, do you feel like for wrestlers, now we're talking about wrestlers specifically, it's not like fans watching the product, with talents like Ospreay and Strickland who kind of like hype up the brand, do you feel like AEW is a destination for wrestlers when they leave WWE? Do you feel like there are other greener pastures, if it's New Japan, if it's TNA? I mean, I guess like if MLL, or I guess AAA would technically, MLW. I mean, AAA, I think is technically, they wouldn't be leaving because you'd still be under TKO. So I think that's a little complicated. But
Right.
do you agree with that assessment? Do you think AEW is a destination, a dream destination for wrestlers leaving WWE?
I mean, you're definitely getting the bag if you go, I imagine.
Yeah, that's the one way you'll get your competitive pay.
Yeah.
What
about creative freedom? Oh, creative freedom. That's, I guess, the ability to be creative when you're in AEW, being part of a cool story and that kind of stuff. Do you think that they have the capability to experience that if they hopped over to AEW?
I think go ahead, Dave.
Go ahead.
Okay. Okay, I'll go.
You first.
All right.
You first.
I think the problem with the whole thing with Tony Khan is he has this like acquirement syndrome thing where he scoops up a bunch of talent. They're kind of hyped for a bit, but then there's just they don't get much TV time, and then they just kind of like go away to like Ring of Honor or something. So I feel like a lot of those guys are just, you don't get enough time on TV, I would say, with AEW. With newer talent, I would say.
David, you have thoughts?
I feel like AEW is good if you know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know who you are, and you can't sit there next to Tony or whoever else is an influencer back there and pitch your ideas with your chest straight, I don't think it works. But if you can go in there and be like, I'm John Moxley, I'm just gonna do some John Moxley shit.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, cool. But it's like, if you turn to them and you're like, hey, I'm this, and that, what do I do? I don't know.
Yeah.
You just told me who you are.
Well,
I think that's where the AEW fall off comes from.
mm-hmm.
Like, for example, we'll use Miro. Like, Lord knows what the hell happened. But when Miro first came, he was a muscle-bound dude that loves video games. Like, he changed the accolade to the game over. And, like, even before, it was like when he first came, it was a thing to put him around arcade machines.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, who the hell thought of that? Where did that come from? Where did it go? What is this compared to and then he came back as like the Redeemer. And that makes sense because now he's using the Redeemer even now.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's just like that type of like it's almost like if you're a song and you skipped, like everyone's going to notice the skip.
Like there's no acknowledgement that this is
like, and then it just tries to go back to normal. It's like, no, we heard that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. And I guess in that same vein, do you feel like AEW should continue signing big names from WWE? Or do you feel like they should focus more on homegrown or underutilized indie talent to keep the roster fresh? And I guess I'll ask you, Andres. and then I'll just go around the room.
I think they should keep it fresh and go for indie talent. I think they have a lot of really big hitters right now, and a good amount of them. Some of them came from WWE already.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it'd be better to try to, because like to David's point earlier, how like the upper mid card to the top, like it's all pretty well orchestrated already throughout the show. So they really should start building, I think, more from like the openers and the lower cards and stuff like that. I think they can find a bigger star and make something out of it
Mm-hmm.
from like a homegrown perspective. But to get someone else, like another big name from WWE that got released, I don't know. It's kind of hard to say because like both rosters are still stacked, both in WWE and AEW. So it's like
Right.
it kind of feels a little scary to be like a upper mid card guy to be like, oh, I'm going to jump over there. Like, how's that honestly going to go? Obviously it's worked for a bunch of people, but it also has not too. So it's
Yeah, I mean,
time.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, I feel like there's only enough oxygen in each main event, or even like upper mid card and lower card, where you have only so much TV time. And I would agree that WWE and AEW, they both have big rosters, and neither of them have, I feel like, a shortage of like top talent. Again, it's just a matter of like how are they being utilized. And again, like there are so many people on that roster who might not necessarily be currently utilized or just very little. Like Karrion Kross, I'm very interested to see, what they do with him as a character, because he's been mostly in backstage scenes, and then he finally gets a match, and that's great. But then he also loses in that match too, at Night of Champions. And I was hoping that I wasn't sure if I saw any kind of like crack in Sami Zayn as a character. So I wasn't sure if this is like, yeah, here you go, Karrion Kross, here's your match, and now we're not going to do anything with this story that's been kind of bubbling under. So yeah, just like wrestlers like that, I am worried about what they do, because Karrion Kross, like for example, and this will be the last thing before I move on to the main conversation. Yeah, the main event, exactly. I feel like Karrion Kross is like, for me personally, I think he's almost like a Jake the Snake Roberts, because his delivery and how he talks, it is very, and I feel like I might have talked about this before. I feel like he's very smooth at talking. It's very believable. It doesn't feel like he's reading off a script, like maybe kind of like a John Cena or somebody, where it's like over the top. He's just really good at talking, and I know we've talked crap about him before, and I think it's a meme at this point. People.
We're retconning all of it.
And yeah, I mean, like I've joked about it before, of course, and I mean, his entrance, and this is the other thing I kind of had maybe some hope for, because this new-ish entrance that they did. I mean, I think it's cool if they just keep going at it. I think it's an awesome type of entrance. So yeah. So I think AEW, I mean, as an alternative brand, I feel like they understand that they don't have to be competing with WWE to be successful. And I think they have found their market and their niche, and I think that they could be successful for as long as Tony Khan's got money and people want to go see them. And I don't see them going away anytime soon in the way of like a WCW or something like that. So with that, I mean, we talked about the size of the rosters and the fear of having not enough oxygen in the main event scene because there's just so many top guys. This kind of goes into our main event story about wrestlers